like not all my buddies were into hair metal, like Warrant and Poison, but AC/DC was like the one band everybody could agree on.
The song Back in Black and Animal by Def Leppard are probably my two favorite songs of all time.
The singer fucking dies, and you bring in a new guy and put out the second best selling album of all time.
And creative for AC/DC. I mean, come on, it's not that creative. But
Has any band ever talked about testicles as much as AC/DC?
basically, I put it at number 5 due to the production alone.
Like when people say that you can't dance to rock and roll, I'm like, shit, we danced to You Shook Me All Night Long at every fucking high school dance I was ever at.
They messed up when they produced it themselves.
This cat was lost and it was outside this. Ow, fuck.
Tear me up in the comments. It's just my opinion.
And you know who hates the cat? Charlie.
Maybe the pound is the right place.
I respect you. I think you're dumb. I think you're dumb as shit.
That one is where AC/DC needed to be in '86.
Be kind. He's a firefighter. He's married. He has kids.
Oh, fuck. This is magical.
Where did we fuck it up? I know Ryan fucked it up. Look, I came here to do two things: chew bubblegum and talk hair metal. And it looks like I'm almost out of bubblegum. Welcome to the Hair Metal Guru. My name is Anthony. They call me the Guru. And I got my good buddy Ryan here to continue our series in talking about perhaps the greatest band of all time, AC/DC. We just did a video a few days ago. It got published on there's my fucking cat, which I'll tell you about here in a second, knocking shit over. But we did a video on the 70s talking about the Bon Scott years. We discussed all 5 albums and we did a ranking, and so go check that episode out. Today we are going to talk about all 6 albums from 1980 to 1990. Ryan, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much. The Bon years were super tough. The Brian years are, I think, tougher for me. There was one song that you and I discussed, or kind of an album, but more or less a song in the Bon years that we didn't bring up. We both forgot, and it was '74 Jailbreak.
Yes.
And that was one where it blanked. We both blanked on it, but the song Jailbreak alone,
totally,
shit, man, that could have been next to Highway to Hell. Just wanted to give a nod to that.
Totally. and the reason, I mean, the reason I didn't put it on, it was an EP, but we still should have put it in there. We still should have discussed it. So my bad. I take responsibility for that. Okay. I have a fucking cat because I work at a basketball academy, and this cat was lost, and it was outside this. Ow, fuck. And it was outside this basketball academy all day. Well, I'm just a sucker for fucking animals. So some people helped me while I was working, and then I took it home from work, and I thought, well, maybe I'll take it to the pound. Well, I got it home for a day, and now I can't fucking take it to the pound. So its name was named by one of my basketball players. It's Steph Kitty. And half the time it loves me. And half the time it's trying to bite the shit out of me. You probably can't see. I got bite marks all over my fucking. So anyway, and my air conditioner is out. So I am wearing a tank top, but it's an AC/DC Back in Black tank top. So it's been a long, expensive summer. All right. Before we go on, here I framed a couple things that are apropos to the topic today. This is an original flick of the switch from 1983 ad, probably from like a hit parader or a circus magazine.
What a great album cover.
Yeah. Up next, from Kerrang, an ad for Are You Ready? The single from the Razor's Edge.
Love it.
Coming next. From Blow Up Your Video, from Kerrang magazine, an ad for the Heat Seeker single and tour dates from over in Great Britain. Couple more. From Rolling Stone, For Those About to Rock, we salute you, for that album from 1981. By the way, I sell all this shit and I'm having a garage sale, which is all just music shit next weekend. Hey, you know what? If anybody ever wants to come to Fargo and peruse my collection, you're welcome. Uh, Also from Kerrang, I love this one. For Who
Oh
Made
yeah.
Who. Try to get the light out of there. Almost done. I love this. The original Rolling Stone article after the death of Bon Scott, when they are putting out back, it says AC/DC shrugs off a death and rocks on. And it is from October 30th of 1980.
Very
Oh,
cool.
yes. I really like that. And the last thing, something from Fly on the Wall, the picture disc vinyl 7-inch single for the Danger single.
Sweet.
Oh, some AC/DC. All right. Uh Said this
Those
the
are
other
awesome.
day. It's like trying to rank your kids.
Yeah.
I love the AC/DC. And this was super tough. We got 6 albums, and I was still in the minutes before Ryan and I hit record. I was like, shit, I don't know if this is supposed to be number 5 or anyway.
Yeah.
Ryan, what was it like trying to rank these 6 albums from 80 to 90?
It was brutal, dude. Another impossible list. And honestly, this thing could have been flipped upside down, and I'd have been happy with it.
Right,
And it's the honest to God truth. Everything they did in that 10-year time frame to me is like my go-to AC/DC.
right.
These days, I don't know. I obviously love Bon and I go to Bon a lot,
Yep.
but these albums are like the workout albums, the ones you always end up hearing in sports arenas and whatever. So I gravitate towards this 10 years mostly these days. So this was nearly impossible. And as we inch down to number 1 and 2, I'm still not quite confident, but I think I have to stick with the plan.
Right? You just fucking run it up the flagpole and see who salutes it.
That's
Um,
it.
I was the same way because the albums that come out that you get into when you're a teenager, you can't
Yeah.
help but always gravitate to those. So, um, I was born in 72. So Flick of the Switch came out when I was 11. Fly on the Wall came out when I was like 13. Blow Up Your Video when I was like 16. So those, I might rank those higher than, I mean, I'm not going to tell you my rankings, but I those came out during an important time in my life. So, without further ado, there's 6 albums to rank, some big ones, and I'll add this, that the later part of the 80s were not the kindest period to AC/DC. Even
Right.
though they were still going platinum. I mean, after Back in Black, and for those about to rock, going platinum wasn't, I mean, people expected more, but it's
Yeah.
still a lot of great stuff. So let's get into it. Ryan, what is your sixth favorite album from 1980 to 1990?
Okay. Well, there's no reason this shouldn't be near the top of the list, but it is Blow Up Your Video from '88. And
Okay.
it's a great album, full of classics. It's the comeback album, even though that's odd because I don't think they went anywhere. And I honestly don't think the fans thought they went anywhere. It was the record sales that was the comeback deal there, but whatever. It's the first one to go platinum since you could call it For Those About to Rock, even though Who Made Who, I think, went platinum. It was more of a greatest hits, whatever. That would be qualified as maybe a comeback. But I put it at the top just because, honestly, some of the album tracks aren't my favorite. I love them, but I don't like them as much as other album tracks. Songs like That's the Way I Want to Rock and Roll are absolute masterpieces. Heat Sinker, I like a lot. I really love the last 3 songs on the album. Rough Stuff, very pop rock for AC/DC between that pre-chorus and the chorus. Very poppy, but still a great song. Two's Up has some great AC/DC gang backup vocals, which is kind of cool. And then This Means War has that Brian Johnson machine gun voice in there where you go, "What the fuck did you just say?" But it's perfect. Um, and then a little nod to the two outtake songs, if you will, that appeared on Backtracks, the AC/DC box set, were Snake Eye and Borrowed Time. And those were two really cool songs as well. So those could have been included on this album. But I, this album I've played through and through so many times. The only reason it's number 6 is just because some of the album tracks aren't my favorite.
Sure. Okay. I won't get into my thoughts. You'll get them later, but I'm surprised. I'm surprised. My
Yeah.
number 6 uh is I think it's going to be a surprise to people because it's the second best-selling album of this time period. It's For Those About to Rock.
Oh.
And
Whoa.
I know, but I'm listening to it today, and and again, I love this album. I really do. But something's got to come in at number 6. This is
Yeah.
the first AC/DC album to go to number 1 on Billboard. And so, and we've talked about this. How can Quiet Riot be the first heavy metal album to go to number 1 when this one did? So
That's right.
people just kind of put AC/DC in its own category, and maybe that's appropriate. But
Yeah.
4 times platinum, which after Back in Black, I mean, anything was going to be a disappointment sales wise after Back in Black.
Yeah.
But here's my reasoning. I feel like I like AC/DC when it's up tempo, it's grabbing you by the balls. I feel like there's a lot of it's slower AC/DC. Not that it's mellow, it's not balladist, but it's not boom, 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 kicking you in the ass. So, like
Yeah.
song For Those About to Rock, We Salute You. I really like that song, but it's a little too slow
Mhm.
and kind of monotonous. There and I'll add this. Part of my problem on this album is sometimes the choruses don't really do anything. It's
Mm.
just okay, we're just going to repeat these 4 words a bunch of times. So, I love For Those About to Rock when it kicks in at the
Yeah.
end, but that's 4 minutes in.
Yeah.
I really like probably one of my favorite songs on the album is Put the Finger on You. Seriously up tempo, it swings. Love that song. Let's Get It Up. The verses are really good. The chorus kind of lets me down. A little too slow. Inject the Venom just kind of leaves me wanting a little bit more. Snowball, great verses. Again, the chorus is just kind of there. Evil Walks, slow for AC/DC, slow, kind of uninspired. COD, I really like. I don't love. Breaking the Rules is my least favorite song on the album. Night of the Long Knives. I like this, but I I tend to skip it.
Slow. It's slower too.
Yes, it's slower. And Spellbound, again, I feel like kind of slow and monotonous. So
Mm-hmm.
I can listen to this album no problem. But I only highlighted one song, Put the Finger on You, as and like I said, how I judge an AC/DC song is, do I put it on a workout list and it gets me going? There's
Yeah.
many very good songs, but there's only one that qualifies for that standard. It's Put the Finger on You. So it comes in at number 6, and fuck, I feel bad about it.
Dude, great explanation. And I'll just say right real quick before I get into it down the line, those first 4 songs I highlighted as my favorite on the
Yep,
album as well.
perfect.
And it probably in the order of which it'd be Put the Finger, Let's Get It Up, Inject the Venom, and then For Those About to Rock. Probably in that order, the first 4, which are great.
Right. Right. So I I was like, shit, how do you put like the second most high selling album? But
Yeah,
and I feel like obviously it went 4 times platinum. A lot of that was on the strength of Back in Black.
totally.
Again, not that it's a bad album. And for those about to rock, is obviously gets played at every concert. It's a great
Hmm.
song, but I'll leave it at that. Let's move on. I'll take my thrashing in the comments, everyone. Uh, what's your number five?
Oh, I expect to be thrashed in these comments as well, which I'm prepared for. Okay. So, number five, I got Flick of the Switch from 83. And another one that pained me to put up high like this, but we brought this up in our hair metal mistakes episode. And basically, I put it at number five due to the production alone. The songs are outstanding to me. I crank this album next to all the others, absolutely do. But again, I think they messed up when they produced it themselves. It was a good idea. They wanted to get more raw as bands do, but I think it was a mistake. They would have really benefited from a producer. Maybe they didn't want to have the mutt sound again, which I don't know why, but a producer that could have had an ear for it. But two songs I could maybe do without Brain Shake and Badlands, but the rest are AC/DC gold. I mean, Bedlam in Belgium tells a great story and it's a ripper. Flick of the Switch, that guitar riff alone. Guns for Hire, what a killer opener on that tour. Angus kept teasing the crowd. They opened the show with Angus soloing for like 3 minutes, which is so
Right.
killer. And then they went into Guns for Hire, and it was a really prolonged intro. And then probably my favorite, Nervous Shakedown. I've always loved the grind of that song and that riff and that kick in. It's just like hearing it right now, I just want to start banging my head. So again, I love the album cover. It's simple black and white, but it's so cool.
Yeah.
I've seen altered versions where it's colored and it's pretty cool as well. But that's where I got it. Production alone did it.
Yeah. And I'll let you know in a second where I put it, but yeah, the production, the songs are top notch. I would have loved, not even, doesn't have to be Mutt Lang. And I understand why bands had a hard time working with Mutt Lang. They were in the studio so long
Yeah.
and constantly, no, you got to fix this. And
Yeah.
I so you're like, shit, I think it's good enough, and but Mutt's results speak for themselves.
Yeah.
So even if they didn't have Mutt, they should have had somebody, because the production isn't the strength on that album.
Yeah.
So that album is not my number five. My no my oh shit. My number five, actually, for those about to rock, isn't the second best selling. The second best selling album of this period after Back in Black is The Razor's Edge. And
uh,
that is my number five.
oh wow. Okay.
Yep. It went 6 times platinum. It went to number two on Billboard. I want to find out what was the album that kept it from the number one spot.
Yeah.
And this album was so fucking huge. Again, like the albums before this were eking out platinum, but and platinum for most people is great. For AC/DC, platinum is kind of a disappointment.
Yeah.
But when Thunderstruck hit the airwaves, holy shit, it was all over the place. I graduated from high school in 1991. I went to 3 proms my senior year. And
Attaboy.
at one of the proms, it's in Central Cast, Thunderstruck was the prom theme. We were walking down the aisle with our dates and slow dancing to Thunderstruck. That's how huge this song was. And it is still one of the epic songs in AC/DC history. I'll admit it like for me now, it's kind of overplayed, but I highlighted it because it is still an amazing freaking song.
You
Uh,
spend more time in a basketball arena than most people, though, so that's your
oh,
fault.
yes. You hear that shit all over the place. So, the other song that I highlighted, and I'll just kind of start doing this, is Money Talks. That riff is so catchy. That was again another huge hit. And I'll say, so after, I love Fire Your Guns. Okay, it's a great song. I really like Are You Ready? I didn't highlight it. It's a solid song. There's another song called Got You by the Balls. Has any band ever talked about testicles as much as AC/DC? I don't think so. Okay. So there's nothing that I dislike on this album. But again, I rate AC/DC by what songs will I still put on a workout playlist. There are two. There's a lot of great stuff on here. Um and it was close between this and my number 4. I was shocked that I put it this low. Again, it's a huge album. The Razor's Edge comes in at number 5. Sorry, everybody.
Damn. Didn't see that one coming.
Right, right,
I
right.
shall save my thoughts.
Okay, save your thoughts. Let's move on. What is your number 4?
Okay, here's what I have for those about to rock from 81. So these top 4 could have easily got swapped around. Okay, so I wouldn't care if you just said, okay, I'm going to turn your top 4 upside down. That's fine. Just like the 6, but really the top 4. But it's just like you're saying, just simply preference of songs on my final 4. And it's a great follow up to one of the biggest albums of all time. They did a hell of a job trying to eke something out, and they sure did. Like I said, the first 4 songs to me are untouchable. I love them. The solo and Inject the Venom is so killer. The riff on COD is Angus Gold, and Brian's vocals I do like on Breaking the Rules. That song, I will agree with you, isn't one of my favorites, nor
Yep.
is Snowballed. But
Yep.
Brian's vocals on Breaking the Rules are like spot on for Brian.
Right.
But included in the first 4 songs I mentioned are Let's Get It Up and I Put the Finger on You, like I said. And those 2 alone would have made this album like incredible for me. Let's Get It Up, I feel like is one of like the sexiest guitar riffs Angus has ever come up with. And then Put the Finger on You, that live version from I believe it's the like Joe Louis Arena or something like that in 83 or whatever it is.
Yep.
And they speed it up just slightly live,
Yeah.
and it kills, and then they pull it off so well. Anyway, so it's got that like If You Want Blood type of kick in where everything comes together. It's like if you think of the intro of I Put the Finger on You, and then oh yeah, and then Brian comes in right when the drums come in, and he continues just like If You Want Blood, You Got It, where they all come in together. It's perfect. So that helps with some of these songs, but I got for those about to rock kind of high. I thought it was kind of high, but
Yep.
we're right there.
But you didn't put it at number 6 like I did. And oh, look who's
Oh,
here.
okay. God.
Charlie. And you know who hates the cat? Charlie. Because the cat fucking won't leave her alone. But she's so
I
pretty.
bet.
She just takes it. And you're so pretty. You're gonna be famous on YouTube. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
That's right.
All right. I still, yeah. I feel like everybody for every album is going, what the fuck are you doing? So
I,
my number 4 was your number 5. Flick of the Switch.
got
Was
it.
that your number 5?
Yep.
So it came out in 83. It went to 15 on Billboard. It went platinum. And for the record, so I checked out every album, I think, at least according to Wikipedia, did go platinum
Yeah.
during this period. So anyway, number 15 after For Those About to Rock going to number 1, probably kind of disappointing. So I again the production is the weakness. These are solid songs. They should have tweaked them more, spent a little more time, gotten a producer outside of just people in the band. Songs, the ones that I fucking highlighted that I'm like, hey, I'll play this on a workout. Flick of the Switch,
Yeah.
up tempo. The vocals are snarling. This is the kind of song that makes AC/DC for me. Guns for Hire. The verses are phenomenal. And the chorus isn't a letdown. Sometimes choruses in AC/DC can be the weak spots. That fucking cat is going to drive me nuts. And like you said, Bedlam in Belgium.
Yeah.
Cool story, great opening riff. The verses are phenomenal. The chorus, but I still fucking love this song. Okay. Brain Shake is up tempo. It's good. Badlands is a decent song. I'm not huge on Deep in the Hole.
No.
Landslide is really up tempo, which is usually I love, but it just doesn't go enough to where it's great.
Yeah.
Nervous Shakedown, I really like a lot. This House is on Fire, the second track, really like the opening riff, really like the song. Rising Power, the opening track, is a good song. The chorus kind of lets me down a little bit. So there's 3 songs that qualify as great on this. I wish the production was better, so it comes in at number 4.
Just listening to you rattle off the song titles, I'm like, fuck, this is a killer album. Playing all the songs in my head, going, damn, I love this album. I don't know, man. All those things I totally agree with.
Yeah. It's all fucking subjective.
Oh,
and on any, I might do this video tomorrow and be like, wait a minute, this is my number 6, this is my number 5. So
absolutely.
All right, we are on to your number 3. What do you got to disappoint all our viewers with?
The Razor's Edge from 1990. And I almost put this at number 1 just due to nostalgia, because this is my first true love musically. I was 9 and Money Talks came out, and it was all over radio and MTV, and I'd run to go get my dad and say, hey, those guys are on TV again. This is great. So, and so began my obsession. True classic, arena and stadium staple, created in Thunderstruck, like you said, one of the most recognizable songs of all time.
Yep.
Epic live performance from Donington in 91. Looks like the whole crowd is on a trampoline when they get kicked in. It's awesome. Not a bad song on the album, I think, and I don't want to I don't want to overlook Are You Ready? Because like you were saying, that song is perfect. It's a perfect AC/DC song. And I did put a note of Got You by the Balls. I love that song. I've always loved that song.
Yep.
I remember reviews really kind of bagging on the album tracks, but I love Rock Your Heart Out, Shot of Love, Let's Make It, Goodbye and Good Riddance to Bad Luck. I love those tracks.
Yep.
If You Dare closes the album, and I've never really cared for that song that much. I mean, it's AC/DC, so I'm going to gravitate towards it. But If You Dare is kind of funky. Never really loved it. And a nod to also one of the cooler songs they left out was Down on the Borderline, and that's on the Backtracks album as well. I think it's either Down on the Borderline or Borrowed Time. I may have switched those with Blow Up Your Video and Razor's Edge, but whatever. They're in that era. Great songs. The album cover is awesome. I don't know what it is, but I've always loved this album cover as well. I had the CD booklet, taped on all my stuff for years, and the tape and everything. I mean, I loved it. So that's where I have the Razor's Edge, man.
I wonder, because this came out, it came out in September of 90. That was right when I was starting my senior year of high school. And it was so huge that all my friends had it. I had it. We all played the shit out of it. You couldn't go anywhere without hearing that album, because even, like not all my buddies were into hair metal, like Warrant and Poison, but AC/DC was like the one band everybody could agree on.
I know.
So if we were partying or something and somebody wanted John Cougar Mellencamp and I wanted Warrant or Poison, everybody would just go, just fucking put the Razor's Edge in, and then we're all happy. So I wonder if I just got overplayed anyway, because now I'm like now hearing you talk about it, I'm like, fuck, how did I have that at number 5? But
Well,
I'm
you know,
sticking to my guns.
same thing happened with you talking about Flick of the Switch, but one song that we didn't talk about was the song "The Razor's Edge," and it's different for AC/DC.
It is
It's deep and dark. You know, like
totally.
it's that's like I could see that being on like a Metallica album or like a maybe like a newer AC/DC album where they have that kind of shit. But yeah, deep and dark. It's played well. Like it does pick up midway through, and they that live Donington video they play it, and it's great. But
Yeah.
yeah, that song's always been a interesting one.
Yep. Not a bad song on the album.
No.
Just shit. I probably fucked up, but no. Okay. My number 3 um is Fly on the Wall. Only went to number 32. Went platinum. But I felt like okay, so I think for those about to rock, even though it went 4 times platinum, I think AC/DC considered that a failure. Okay. I'm sure I'm sure they did, I'm sure they expected more, you know.
Yeah.
Then Flick of the Switch, even though I really liked that album, was considered a failure. I feel like on Fly on the Wall, they decided to incorporate more 80s hard rock, stuff that was going on, but still with that AC/DC style. And I really like that move on this album. I love this album. Fly on the Wall is a great song. And the chorus doesn't, you know, it it doesn't lose me at all.
No.
It expands on these great verses. Shake Your Foundations is one of my favorite AC/DC songs of all time. And so I worked at this place. People, if you're ever been to North Dakota, there's a place on the western side of the state called the Badlands.
Oh.
And there is a tourist town called Medora. And there's a foundation that is called the Theodore Roosevelt Medora Foundation. And they hire all the people that come work there for the summer. Well, the greatest summer of my life was the summer of 1990. And I worked at the mini golf and pool. And it's all high school kids, tons of chicks, high school and college kids. It was the greatest summer ever. But every Sunday we went to this all ages club, and they played the song Shake Your Foundations, but we worked for the Medora Foundation. So when they would play this, we would go, yo, fuck the foundation. And this club with like hundreds of teenagers singing that song out loud. It's just a great memory for me.
That's nice.
I love the song Sink the Pink. It's still a song that I can put on workout playlists. It's great. And so there are some songs that like Send for the Man, I'm kind of but there's a lot of decent songs on this. Danger, I showed you the single. There's no bad songs. Playing with Girls, Stand Up, Hell or High Water. I just wrote solid AC/DC songs. I'm not, they're not like skip worthy, but I'm not going to highlight them as excellent. I think part of the reason I have this up as high as I do is I still love Shake Your Foundations and Sink the Pink. I still love Fly on the Wall. I don't think this album is as solid all the way through as The Razor's Edge. But because I still love those 3 songs a little bit more than I love some of the songs on The Razor's Edge, it got bumped up a little bit higher. So Fly on the Wall comes in at number 3.
Well, this would be a perfect segue, but I have Back in Black at number 2. Now you know by process of elimination what my number one is going to be. I may regret this. I know I'll get ripped in the comments, and I'm gonna hang for this one. I'm sorry. It. I gotta stay true regarding what my number one is going to be. But Back in Black is an album that I've played start to finish as much as Highway to Hell and Hysteria, and that's a lot. There's nothing wrong with this album. There's only one song that I could swap out for a different AC/DC album track, and it's Let Me Put My Love Into You. And that's my only complaint. And it's not even a complaint because it's still like a 7 out of 10, but it's not a 10 out of 10 like the rest of the songs. The song Back in Black and Animal by Def Leppard are probably my two favorite songs of all time. I will not turn those songs off.
Nope.
They're Back in Black, the song is one of the more powerful songs of all time. And live, just thinking about it live, it gives me goosebumps just to think about it. But anyway, there was a time I read where Brian talked about a mistake he made on Back in Black somewhere. And this is an article from one of my old magazines from the 80s. And he says there's a mistake vocally somewhere on Back in Black. And I've been trying for years to figure out where the hell this mistake is. And I still haven't found it because it's a fucking perfect album. But I don't know. That I believe at one point this album used to just be played on the radio. I remember reading that Pyromania and Back in Black, a DJ would just boop, press play,
Right.
and they play the whole fucking thing. And for a debut, for a brand new guy in the band, I mean, how life changing was that? What a it's so cool to read Brian Johnson's book and go to the point where he got the phone call in the later chapters, and then it ends with basically just after the release of Back in Black. He doesn't go on past Back in Black in his book. But that life change.
What's that book called again?
Oh God.
Because I think he has a couple books out.
It's newer. It's in the last couple of years. It's got Brian on the cover with the from like probably the 81 tour.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of the book. I see it every day.
I'll get it and I'll put it in the video.
Yeah, but it's such a cool book, and it really details like the life-changing experience. Like the dude went from this fairly mediocre life in a cool band, Geordie, and then got picked up by AC/DC. Didn't really think much of it. Recorded the album, went home, continued working. Next thing you know, the fellas finished it. He got a shipment of it, and he went, "Oh fuck, this is magical," and it is, and life-changing. But it's so cool. But I mean, I could literally swear under oath I have never turned off the song Back in Black.
Right.
So after I've just massaged it and preached it that much, I still have it at number 2. I know I will hang for this one, and I'll probably wake up in a cold sweat knowing that I did this.
You will. So I mean, I don't agree, but anyway, it makes the video more interesting because I'm sure, because like you and I both had Highway to Hell as our number one, and I think that was expected, and I'm sure everyone expected Back in Black to be both of our number ones, and only one of us is going to get that right, and going to be the one that fucked it up. So no, I hear you. There are albums that I love, or albums from like most people would shit when I say about Warrant that these days I like Ultraphobic more than Cherry Pie or Dirty Rotten Filthy Stinking Rich.
Yeah.
And people are like, "What? Are you insane?"
I know.
But I'm like, for some reason, it just these days. So I hear you, and I respect you, I think you're dumb. I think you're dumb as shit, but it's okay. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
Okay.
I blew
And
it.
I liked your explanation, and it now we know what your number one is. So I'm excited to hear why that is better because it's not like you downplayed Back in Black. You
Oh,
fucking
fuck.
love that album.
Yeah.
So obviously, so my number two is and I'm sure so it's Blow Up Your Video. And
Nice.
this came out when I was 15 or 16.
Yeah.
I got this from ordering one of those buy 12 cassettes for a penny,
Oh,
and blah, blah, blah. I probably still owe BMG money for that, but I'm sure I have it this high because that was an important period. I'm sure I didn't own, my brother probably owned Back in Black. I know there's no way I owned Flick of the Switch or Fly on the Wall. So this was the first AC/DC album that I bought with my own money and I owned and I listened to it and it was mine. And that
nice.
makes it important. So I I fucking love this album. So I'll just went to number 12, only went platinum. The song Heat Seeker, the opening track, the opening single. How did that song? I feel like that should have blown up like Thunderstruck did. I
Yeah.
still can put that on workout playlist. It's like injecting caffeine into your veins. Love that song. I still love That's the Way I Want to Rock and Roll.
Oh, yeah.
Still love two more songs that I will play on playlists, Kissin' Dynamite and Nick of Time. Man, the chorus in Nick of Time, it it's a good song. That chorus makes it a great song. I don't know, like the guitars and Brian's voice, just
Yeah.
holy shit,
Yeah.
moving. Now, Go Zone, very good. Rough Stuff, Two's Up, and This Means War, all very good. The only songs that I kind of Mean Streak and Some Sin for Nothing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I love this album, and again, I'm sure it's this high because of the time in my life that I got it. That's why it's at number two.
When you show the framed photos at the beginning, everything's so iconic with this band, and that Heat Seeker, where Angus is in the cannon or missile, or whatever, he's coming out of that. It's so everything's so iconic and it's so killer, dude. Like that one, and I think he went back to the Back in Black guitar on this album because he's got the black and the black SG with the white plate on it. I think he went back to it. And then didn't the Vanda and Young produce this album? I think they did. So like
You
they
might be
may have
right.
gone they may have gone back to that, and that would have given them a different sound as well. But dude,
Yes, Harry Vanda, George Young produced.
yeah,
Yep.
and the intro of "That's the Way I Want to Rock and Roll" with the drums, and then the way that song kicks in, dude, that's in my probably top 5 of AC/DC songs of all time as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, the songs you listed were they had kind of like a groove on. I think it's two of the songs what was the Mean Streak, and it's got that kind of like groovy guitar that
Yeah.
like kind of, I don't know, it doesn't exactly thrill me like some of the other more grinding stuff does.
Yep. Yep. I that type of guitar and when they, and sometimes they can do slower stuff and it's not like it's slow, it still rocks, but on this album there's more of the do 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 do,
Yeah.
that grabs me, other people might like the slower bluesier stuff. That's always the stuff I shy away from, but
Yeah.
an important album in my history. So comes in at number two. Now we're down to the number ones. Obviously, everyone knows what they are, but let's hear your justification for Fly on the Wall being your favorite from 1980 to 1990.
No, dude, it's Who Made Who the single. You're crazy.
Yeah.
So, okay. I'm probably one of 500,000 people that puts Fly on the Wall above Back in Black, and probably one of 100,000 that puts it as number one in this time frame. But I'll attempt my explanation, but really, it's just my opinion. So, whatever. So, okay. You kind of nailed it earlier when you said they went with more of a 80s hard rock sound. And when I was writing this out, I said, 1985 AC/DC abandoned that true blues hard rock roots stuff, and it equated to an album of pure power.
Yep.
And that is why I'm so obsessed with Fly on the Wall. So nothing against the blues rock style. Obviously, I love it. They're my favorite band of all time.
Yep.
But I think they just embodied the pure hard shit of 1985. The guitar sound was obviously Angus and Malcolm, but
Right.
the mix may have been a little different. The vocals were definitely mixed different with much more effect, and it made Brian's voice more of that like cutting, ripping, tearing, rip your face off voice in
Right.
there, a little more thin, if you will. The drums were huge. I love those drums. Just check out songs like Send for the Man in the intro, Shake Your Foundations, obviously the entire intro. And if you ever listened to interviews with Simon Wright, they turned him loose and they said, dude, mix it up. Do something a little different. They had Phil Rudd forever, and he was a huge part of the AC/DC sound.
Yep.
A huge difference was the Simon Wright years. Totally. I totally get that. But
Absolutely.
they kind of turned him loose and said, be a little bit more creative. And he was,
Yep.
and creative for AC/DC. I mean, come on, it's not that creative. But I'm just saying, like, on a side note, when I wrote all this out, I was like, maybe I'm a shitty AC/DC fan because I like that when they ditched the blues shit, but I'm obviously not. So, but as the years went on, I just go to this album a lot. And it's probably been 10 years that I've been like, fuck, Fly on the Wall might be my favorite Brian Johnson era AC/DC. I mean, First Blood, that song to me has such a ripping everything, but the solo, and I'm not a guitar player, but the way Angus bends the string for like several measures, and he doesn't use a whammy bar. He just bends the string and it goes on and on and on. You're like, fuck, when's this going to end? This is so killer though. But top three AC/DC songs of all time, Sink the Pink. Sink the Pink is such an epic, and talk about like gym song, pump you up song. I could put that song on and I'm immediately ready to go.
Yep.
The song Fly on the Wall, like you said, just the intro alone, hearing that when they used to open with it on this tour, dude, it is so killer. So anyway, tear me up in the comments. It's just my opinion. I'm not going to apologize, but I am going to lay awake in a cold sweat about this.
Be kind. He's a firefighter. He's married. He has kids. Okay. Don't tear him up. Yeah, I love that album. Like I said, two of my favorite, Sink the Pink and Shake Your Foundation. And I also love Fly on the Wall, but those two would still be close to the top in my favorite AC/DC songs of all time. It's a great album. And now I don't feel so bad for having some of my shit down low because we're fucked up. Just okay. I've said it before. This Back in Black might be my favorite album of all time. It is perfect. If we ever do an episode on albums, all killer, no filler, this would be on it. Shit, Highway to Hell probably would be too.
Yeah.
But I almost like, it's almost hard for me to talk about it. Like I want anything that has to do with Back in Black. I almost, you could almost play this entire album on a workout playlist and I'd be like, fine. Hell's, yeah. I mean, and for historical significance, you just put out Highway to Hell, the album that is like, oh my gosh, everybody's like, damn, AC/DC is gonna take over with, man, the singer Bon Scott. The singer fucking dies, and you bring in a new guy and put out the second best-selling album of all time, 26 times platinum. Holy shit. It only went to number 6 on Billboard, but still. And then to not celebrate, your old singer died, you got this new guy, and the opening track, Hell's Bells, with the that bell ringing, it's so eerie and almost spooky, and that song just sets the tone. Like, holy fuck, not only are we back, but we're gonna take over the world. Then you got Shoot to Thrill, which is up there with my favorite AC/DC songs of all time. I love when it's at the beginning of the Iron Man 2 movie, which was
Oh
based
yeah.
on an AC/DC soundtrack. Still love that song. What Do You Do for Money, Honey? I still love that song. It's, in the grand scheme of things, it might be lower on the totem pole of this album. It's still great. I still love Giving the Dog a Bone. And
Oh
I
yeah.
think they're talking about a bone. I think they're talking about something else, actually. Kind of surprising. Let Me Put My Love Into You is still a very good song. And then Back in Black, fucking one of the epic songs in the history of heavy metal. A lot of people talk about that guitar riff being one of the greatest riffs of all time. When I was in high school, it seemed like everybody gravitated toward the song You Shook Me All Night Long.
Yeah.
Like when people say that you can't dance to rock and roll, I'm like, shit, we danced to You Shook Me All Night Long at every fucking high school dance I was ever at.
Yeah. Me too.
That backbeat, and you were talking about the drums. The drums are almost as important as fucking Angus
I
in
know.
AC/DC. It just sets the tone for everything. Yes, it's probably simple, but sometimes simple is best. Have a Drink on Me. I still, I feel like that's a song that, there's a little bit of a conspiracy theory about, did Bon actually have the lyrics written? I feel like that's a song, that's a Bon Scott song if there ever was one. Anyway, Shake a Leg just fucking grabs you by the throat. Brian's voice on this whole album is amazing. He does shit that you're like, wow, how is he hitting these notes?
I know.
And then it finishes with Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution. It's a perfect album. It's a 10 out of 10.
Oh
It
yeah.
may be my favorite album of all time, and so it's my number one.
I preach it, dude. And a couple things like in the Brian Johnson book, he gets the record and he goes to his buddy's house to play it. And the first thing his buddy says is, "Oh, Brian, you're singing too high, man. It's too high." And it's like it's fucking true. Like, listen to how he climbs the ladder in Hell's Bells. Like, I don't know if he's ever done that again. Like it's like that's so hard to do. And then regarding You Shook Me All Night Long, the controversy with a Bon Scott faithful, one of his women, the lady friends he had out there, claims that Bon was writing those words, and it was, oh, why would Brian say the sightless eyes? And
Right.
it was something about that word in particular, and the sightless eyes, and that line that she was like, "Oh, Bon wrote it. I was there when he did," but then everybody denies it. Brian pays mega tribute to Bon,
Totally.
and everybody says Bon knew of some of the demos that Angus played for him, and that's kind of as far as it went. But one thing I also want to highlight is "Shake a Leg," dude. That song is so killer. That's absolutely one of the standouts on the album for me.
Yes. So here's the conspiracy theory that I've kind of heard, is that even if Bond didn't necessarily know the songs, is that somebody got a hold of one of his notebooks of lyrics.
I
And
see.
I mean, it's a theory. And Brian Johnson, man, I mean, that dude has always just come off like a normal guy. So I'm not claiming that he stole anything. It's just one of the theories is that after he died, ACDC got some of his notebooks, which I can see happening, and maybe some of those lyrics that ended up in the notebooks, not all, but some of them may have ended up in some of the songs on
Yeah.
Back in Black. I remember somebody saying that they knew that Bon Scott wrote the line, "She was a fast machine. She kept her motor clean. She was the best damn woman that I'd ever seen." Who knows?
And,
It's a theory. Um,
and it's funny because Brian details that he only knew cars. He knew cars very well.
right.
So he heard that. And also on that song, they wanted him to do, she was a fast machine. She kept a motor clean. Or wait, she was a fast machine. And then she kept a motor clean. And he was like, no, I'm going to like rap this song like he
Yeah.
does Back in Black.
Right.
Back in Black, he sings, he barely takes a breath.
Right.
And there's a couple songs in history that, thank God, the band had their own way. That's one of them. And then Love Bites, which I know Brian loves from from Def Leppard. In that part where they go, I don't want to touch you too much, baby. Well, Mutt wanted them to do a ton of words in between and making love to you, my drive, in that part. And
Yep.
they were like, fuck no, we're not going to fill this space. This space is perfect open. And they wanted Brian to do the same thing for Took Me All Night Long. And he went, I'm going to sing it all the way through.
Right.
And it's going to sound basically like a rap song like Back in Black. So there's a few songs in history. Thank God they got their way, right?
Right. I think I love that you talk about uh Brian Johnson first getting his copy of Back in Black. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll edit this out, maybe not, but I think a really cool episode would be talking about these moments where you didn't know, you were witnessing this historical change. That moment, this new singer who's just working a fucking 9 to 5 job
Oh,
gets his copy of Back in Black and doesn't know that his life is forever changed.
yeah.
So, anyway, I think that would be a fun episode. So maybe something to think about. I might edit this out anyway. So, um, hey, so there's our ranking. Let's just briefly talk about, they did put out a compilation album for a movie called Maximum Overdrive. I probably liked that movie when it came out. It starred Emilio Estevez. It's based on a Stephen King book. But it's got one new song, it's got an instrumental, and then it's got a bunch of older songs. But that one new song, Who Made Who, is one of my favorite AC/DC songs of all time.
Totally, dude. That one is where AC/DC needed to be in
Oh,
'86. And the album cover you showed is so
yeah.
iconic as well. It's so cool. And then
Oh,
the two instrumentals, DT and Chase the Ace, those
yes.
are fucking killer too, dude. Like those
Yes.
are two, like I'm not a huge instrumental guy, but I'm like, if it's Angus and Malcolm and Simon doing this shit, like I'm fucking into it. So,
Yeah.
but the song Who Made Who in the video, dude, huge.
I would have loved to have seen that 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 song be the first idea for an entire album, because to me it's one of the perfect songs in the AC/DC catalog. And it's your favorite song too because you like
Well,
it.
dude, also, it set the trajectory of their album release years into a different pattern because they were on the odd years, you know what I mean? And let's just say the Razor's Edge would have come out in '89. I don't know, man. Like there was so much shit in
Yep.
'89. It,
Yep.
it would have made it a little bit too much oversaturation. So
Right.
I'm glad it offset the years to then make Blow Up Your Video '88 and Razor's Edge '90. I think those were the two perfect years.
And I'm pretty sure that fucking thing went double platinum.
Yeah, the thing is a beast of an album, and I don't know if it was the strength of Who Made Who or the fact that it was like, oh, cool, the greatest hits. And then back then, it was kind of hard to get everything on one tape.
Well, and AC/DC is the one band that has never put out a recognized greatest hits.
Totally.
Still. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's kind of dumb because, you know, in they should have done it while people were still buying CDs because now, people don't buy albums. So even anyway,
Yeah.
and hey, you got to respect AC/DC for going, fuck it. We don't need to. We're not going to do it. So I do respect that. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, if they had put one out, it probably would have sold fucking millions and millions of copies because this thing, even though there's a lot of greatest hits that aren't on it, went double platinum. And I know when they did the soundtrack for fucking Iron Man, that
Yeah.
thing I think, sold a couple million copies too. So
That's awesome.
okay, hey, that's the AC/DC albums from 1980 to 1990, ranked from number 6 to number 1. Hey, where did we fuck it up? I know Ryan fucked it up. Okay, I'm just kidding. But tell us, hey, how would you rank these? Is Back in Black the greatest album of AC/DC's career, or is it the greatest album of this period? Maybe you have a completely different list. So tell us in the comments. Ryan, it is always great to talk about maybe the greatest band in the world, AC/DC, with you. Thanks for being on the show.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, while we're here, I would love it, and I mean this, I would love it if you subscribe if you haven't yet, like, comment, and anything that you can do to help the channel. I appreciate it more than I know I'm sarcastic a lot, but I really do appreciate everyone that takes a little bit of time on any of these videos. My name is Anthony. They call me the Guru. Until the next episode comes out, take care.